Cybercrime-related data breaches have become endemic in the world. The scourge ranges from large corporate companies to hotel chains, healthcare breaches of patient data and government. South Africa is not spared of these security breaches as the world is now more interconnected. Experts say cyber criminals are finding multiple gateways to terrorize everyone and from everywhere or anywhere in the world. This happens in spite of multifaceted efforts by users at all levels to protect their information data from falling into the wrong hands. Speaking about this worrying trend now is the Head of Cybersecurity at Fourth Industrial Revolution Incubator, Siyabonga Mabuza. Very good evening to you. Thank you so much for speaking to us. So before we get to the digital pandemic of what is said to be of epic proportions, a new torrent of email-based cyber threats, tell us a little bit more about the work that you do.
Good evening to Piso and good evening to all your viewers. Thank you for having me on the show. So just what we do as the Fourth Industrial Revolution Incubator, we're a business incubator that assists small to medium, or SMMEs, small to medium enterprises. We incubate them. We have a number of programs that we run, and we also running a number of trainings that actually would assist SMMEs to be geared for the Fourth Industrial Revolution.
So I mentioned the fact that the world is becoming more interconnected, and it's been said, interestingly enough, that if it were measured as a country, cybercrime, which I believe predictions are could inflict damages up to about $6 trillion globally, that was in 2021 already, would actually be the world's third largest economy after the US and China. So we are indeed talking about epic proportions. Why has it escalated so much?
I think COVID has catalyzed cybercrime as well, because more people were working from home and working remotely. And because we are in the midst of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, that's why it has escalated, and it is estimated to even grow even further, which makes it even more important for individuals and all types of businesses to protect themselves. So we're not going to be rid of the cybercrime pandemic anytime soon. It's better to be geared up for it.
But I also want to understand, I mean, one would imagine, in fact, it was said, I remember in the auto industry at first, that when they come up with fail-safes for theft and hijacking, they actually go back to the source, right? That they would consult with the criminals themselves. So in terms of cybersecurity ventures, we know what the threats are. It said that global cybercrime costs grow by 15% per year, and that's going to happen over the next couple of years. Are companies not investing in preventing it?
Large corporations usually have an office or a division. So the short answer to your question is large corporations have the budget to invest in it. However, with your smaller enterprises or even individuals or businesses run by individuals, the investment, according to our studies, is not so great, which is why we're actually creating this awareness to just to promote the inclusivity of all types of enterprises and make everybody aware.
We've been talking about ransomware. If you could just also unpack it in a more accessible term for people who are not IT savvy. If we talk about cybercrime costs, I believe that includes damage and destruction of data, stolen money, lost productivity, theft of intellectual property, theft of personal and financial data, embezzlement, fraud, post-attack disruption, etc. If you've never experienced it, you obviously can't anticipate it or understand it. So take us through it, please.
Okay, so what you're looking at, in addition to what you've said, is just loss of personal information. If you are an executive or a director in a company, then you're also looking at possible jail time, which can go up to 10 years according to the Protection of Personal Information Act. So what it entails is it's just a compromise of your details where a criminal or an attacker can use your details to solicit funds or to commit fraud and pose as you. So that's basically what these criminals do in a nutshell, if they get hold of personal information. But you also have other types of cyber crimes which are for ransom. I think you've mentioned it a bit, where instead of selling your information, the attacker might inject a virus into your systems or in the SMME systems or the individual's personal devices, all types of devices, with the aim of soliciting a ransom, so money to be paid up. So there's a number of damages that one can experience from these types of attacks.
And malware, we often get warned about that. We're supposed to download apps that help us with infected computers or even mobile devices. I know that they restrict access to files and that often threaten permanent data destruction. But talk to us about malware, and is it improving? Because sometimes we think if somebody doesn't have your phone physically, or if you're careful about the emails that you are opening or SMSs that that go unanswered, that you are actually fine.
So first question, is it improving? Ever so slightly. The criminals are becoming more smart. So now they're hitting you where it's most vulnerable. So you might be very cautious when it comes to emails, but a little bit more relaxed when it comes to the internet when you're browsing the internet on any browser. Or if you're not vigilant when you're browsing on a public network or public Wi-Fi, then cyber criminals you might be at a risk of being attacked by cyber criminals. So there's a number of facets, right? So we are improving in certain aspects, especially the traditional aspects, but there's also a number of loopholes that are still out there that we need to gear up for, such as your public Wi-Fi or public networks and not public browsers, but just browsers in general.
I mean, post-COVID, we saw that a significant number of the global workforce was working from home. So I'd imagine that the breaches then were getting greater. So if you could just also help me unravel this. I understand the world will store 200 zettabytes of data by 2025. What are we saying here? That a lot of what we use is going to be stored remotely, and therefore we are even more vulnerable?
Yeah. So we are more vulnerable. So it's important when you're storing your data remotely, you understand who your service provider is. We all hear about this thing called the cloud or remote storage of data. But it's important as as the owner of the data, not only the consumer of the information, to understand where's the data stored, how is it protected, are you sharing that storage with other people? Are you able to retrieve it? And we're also at a risk of selling your information, getting your information sold without your consent. So it becomes ever important for you to understand all those dynamics and nitty-gritties.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to leave it there. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. Of course, I was hoping we were going to talk about awareness and training. That there is Siyabonga Mabuza, who's Head of Cybersecurity at 4IRI.